close your eyes and take a slow breath. Tonight, we travel to a place that almost feels like a dream, a place so vast, so quiet, so ancient, that time itself seems to dissolve at its edges. The Sahara, endless waves of golden silence, stretching farther than the eye can see. But what if beneath that silence, something still waits? What if, under thousands of years of sand, lie the forgotten footprints of the Earth's very first civilization? Imagine a world long before pyramids, before history, before memory itself. Rivers once crossed this desert, lakes shimmered under a kinder sun, and people may have walked where now only dunes remain. Their stories might still sleep below, in stones, in fossils, in the patterns the wind draws each night, as the world slows around you. Let your thoughts settle like dust at dusk. Listen to the desert breathing, each gust of wind a whisper from the past, each grain of sand a page from the planet's oldest book. Tonight, we will drift across its quiet expanse, following the echoes of lost cities and the dreams of the land itself. Lie back. Let your heartbeat fall into rhythm with the turning of the earth, and let the desert tell you what it remembers. This is What If the Sahara Hides Secrets of Earth's First Civilization? A sleep documentary for the dreamers who still believe the sand remembers. Beneath the endless golden waves of the Sahara Desert lies a silence older than memory itself. As the night wind dances across dunes that stretch beyond the horizon, it carries whispers, whispers of an age long forgotten, of a civilization that might have lived, thrived, and vanished before history even began. The Sahara, known to us as a barren wasteland, might once have been something else entirely. A land of rivers, forests, and life. And perhaps the cradle of Earth's very first civilization. That it's strange to imagine, isn't it? This desert, the largest hot desert on our planet, wasn't always a desert. Scientists have discovered that thousands of years ago, the Sahara was green, a lush paradise filled with lakes, meadows, and animals that now seem out of place there. Elephants, giraffes, crocodiles. The evidence hides in ancient cave paintings scattered across the rocky plateaus, showing scenes of life and abundance. These paintings whisper of a time when the Sahara was alive. But then what happened? Why did this Eden turn to dust? And what secrets might still lie buried beneath its shifting sands? For centuries, explorers and dreamers have felt drawn to the Sahara, not just for its beauty, but for its mystery. Ancient travelers spoke of lost cities swallowed by the sand. Local legends told of strange stone structures that appear after storms, only to vanish again when the winds return. Even today, satellite images reveal patterns that don't look natural, geometric lines and circles hidden under dunes, as if something once stood there. Could these be the footprints of a civilization older than any we know? One that predates Egypt, Sumer, or the Indus Valley? To understand the Sahara's secrets, we must travel far back in time, to an age before the word history even existed. Imagine the Earth around 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age. The glaciers were melting, the air was warming, the rains were returning. And as the world changed, so too did the Sahara. Rivers began to flow where now there is only sand. Lakes the size of small seas shimmered under the sun. This was the Green Sahara, a miracle of nature, a fleeting paradise that may have nurtured the first spark of civilization. Archaeologists have long believed that human civilization began in Mesopotamia around 6,000 years ago. But what if that's only part of the story? What if humans, or something like humans, built complex societies even earlier, here in Africa's heart? Some researchers think the evidence is already here, waiting beneath the desert. Ancient stone circles, buried ruins, and even possible city-like formations detected by satellite imagery all point towards something incredible. A civilization that could rewrite everything we know about our past. When you look at the Sahara from space, you can see strange patterns, like rivers frozen in time, winding beneath the dunes. Some scientists believe these dry riverbeds once fed vast agricultural lands. Others say they connect to circular depressions, one of the most mysterious being the Eye of the Sahara, or the Rikhat structure in Mauritania. From above, it looks like a giant spiral carved into the earth. Some have even suggested it might be the site of the legendary Atlantis described by Plato. While most scientists agree it's a natural formation, the mystery still lingers. Why does this place feel so deliberately designed, so intentional, like a forgotten monument to an ancient world? As the winds continue to move across the desert, they bury and reveal, hide and uncover, playing an eternal game with time itself. Every grain of sand has been part of countless worlds before ours. And if you listen closely, maybe you can almost hear them. The whispers of builders, hunters, dreamers, and storytellers who once walked where now there is only emptiness. The desert does not forget. It only sleeps. And somewhere beneath those endless dunes, the story of Earth's first civilization might be waiting to be told. Pause. The voice softens even more. Tonight, as you drift deeper into the calm rhythm of this story, imagine the sands glowing faintly under a moonlit sky. Imagine standing there, feeling the cool air brush against your face, knowing that beneath your feet lies a history so old it humbles time itself. The Sahara hides many things: bones, stones, secrets, and silence. But perhaps it also hides the truth about who we really are and how long we've truly been here. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the Sahara, not as an ocean of sand, but as an ocean of green. Imagine tall grasses swaying in the breeze, herds of gazelles and elephants moving through open plains, and rivers shimmering like silver ribbons under the golden sun. The air hums softly with life, birds calling, frogs croaking, water flowing. This was not a dream. This was the Sahara 10,000 years ago. A place so different from what we know that it's almost impossible to believe. Back then, the Sahara was alive, a vibrant, breathing paradise stretching from the Atlantic Ocean to the Nile. Scientists call it the African humid period, a time when monsoon rains shifted northward, turning deserts into savannas and lakes into inland seas. Fossil evidence shows hippos, crocodiles, and fish once lived where there is now nothing but dust. Even more astonishing, ancient cave paintings, thousands of them, show people swimming, fishing, and herding cattle in this green world. These aren't the works of wandering tribes alone. They suggest communities, stories, art, and perhaps the beginning of civilization itself. In the heart of the desert, near Tassili Niger in modern-day Algeria, lies one of the most extraordinary collections of prehistoric art on Earth. Painted high on the sandstone walls are scenes that tell of another time: elegant figures dancing, herds being led to water, hunters carrying bows, and mysterious beings with large heads and strange shapes. Some of these paintings are more than 8,000 years old, and yet they feel modern, almost advanced, as if made by minds far ahead of their era. Who were these people? And how did they live in a land that no longer exists? Archaeologists believe these ancient Saharans may have been among the world's first herders, domesticating cattle long before other regions of the world adopted agriculture. Evidence from bone fragments, stone tools, and hearth remains suggests permanent or semi-permanent settlements existed here. They may have traded with other groups, shared knowledge, and built the foundation of a social order. Slowly, quietly, civilization was forming, but the Sahara was not kind forever. Around 5,000 years ago, something began to change. The rains grew weaker. The rivers began to dry. The grass turned brown, and the lakes shrank. A great drought spread slowly but relentlessly across the land. This was the beginning of the Sahara's transformation from paradise to desert. The shift wasn't sudden. It was a slow, haunting decline that unfolded over centuries, forcing people to migrate, adapt, or perish. Some moved south, following the rains towards sub-Saharan Africa. Others moved east, toward the fertile Nile Valley, bringing with them skills in farming, animal herding, and possibly even the earliest spiritual and architectural ideas that would later bloom into ancient Egypt. It's possible, some researchers suggest, that Egypt's earliest farmers and builders were the descendants of the lost Green Sahara people, refugees from a climate catastrophe that turned their homeland to sand. Think about that for a moment. If that's true, then the story of Egypt, the pyramids, the temples, the gods, didn't begin on the Nile at all. It began here, in a world long buried beneath the dunes. A civilization born from the heart of Africa's green desert, carried eastward by survivors who refused to give up. Even now, when scientists use satellite imaging to look beneath the Sahara, they find the ghostly traces of ancient rivers and lake beds, some stretching for hundreds of miles. In 2015, NASA's radar systems detected what might be one of the world's largest underground aquifers beneath the sands. These hidden waters could be the last remains of the Green Sahara, the silent memory of the paradise that once was. Every grain of sand we see today might once have been part of a fertile field or a riverbank. Every dune might conceal stone foundations, tools, and pottery, the remnants of a civilization erased by time. The idea that our ancestors once built their world here, only to watch it vanish under waves of dust, is both heartbreaking and awe-inspiring. Imagine being there, thousands of years ago, watching your homeland fade away, knowing the rains would never return. The people must have told stories to remember the old world. Myths about gods of rain, of rivers, of rebirth. These stories could have survived for millennia, echoing in other lands, perhaps inspiring later myths like Atlantis, or the Garden of Eden, or the Flood. The desert became a memory, and the memory became legend. Tonight, as you listen, let that image rest gently in your mind. The Sahara, once a land of lakes and forests, now sleeping under a blanket of sand. The winds that sweep across its dunes are the same winds that once rippled across its rivers. They carry the same air, the same sun, the same silence. The difference is only time. And perhaps, somewhere beneath that silence, something ancient still waits to be rediscovered. Close your eyes and imagine standing in the middle of the Sahara, where silence stretches in every direction. The horizon shimmers, the air hums with heat, and the dunes seem to move like waves under a golden sun. But beneath your feet, far below the surface, something extraordinary sleeps. The ghosts of ancient rivers that once gave life to this desert. Long before the Sahara became the vast wasteland we know today, it was crisscrossed by mighty waterways. Not small streams, but powerful rivers that carried water for hundreds of miles, carving valleys, feeding lakes, and nourishing forests. Scientists, using radar and satellite imaging, have mapped these ancient channels, dark blue veins under the golden skin of the desert. One of them, the Tamanrasset River, may have been as grand as the Nile itself. Flowing from the heart of the Sahara toward the Atlantic Ocean, it connected an entire ecosystem of life and people that once thrived here. Imagine that, a great river, now buried beneath sand, once carrying fish, hippos, and human travelers. The Tamanrasset wasn't alone. There were others, the Irharhar, the Kufra, the Wadi Hawar, each now just a name, but once the lifeblood of an ancient world. When these rivers dried, they didn't just take away the water, they took away entire ways of life. Yet the traces remain. In certain parts of the desert, the sand hides odd circular patterns, faint lines, and shapes too geometric to be natural. When scientists study them closely, they realize these align perfectly with the paths of those ancient rivers. What does this mean? It suggests that early humans might have settled along these now buried watercourses, fishing, farming, and building communities where no one would ever think to look today. In 2019, a study using high-resolution satellite imagery revealed something astonishing. Faint rectangular patterns and symmetrical shapes deep beneath the dunes of southern Libya and Mauritania. They looked like old foundations, possibly of structures washed away when the rivers died. Could these be the remnants of an unknown civilization? If so, they would predate Egypt by thousands of years. But if they truly exist, they are buried so deep that even modern technology struggles to uncover them. Some researchers believe these river systems could explain a mystery that has puzzled archaeologists for decades. How did ancient people manage to cross such vast desert regions thousands of years ago? The answer may be simple. They didn't cross the desert. They lived in it, when it was still green, using these rivers as their roads. These waterways were their highways, connecting communities, sharing culture, and spreading ideas long before recorded history. There's something poetic about it, isn't there? The idea that rivers, the veins of life, once flowed where today only wind roams. They connected tribes, they fed animals, they inspired songs and myths. And when they vanished, those songs became whispers. The civilizations that depended on them either moved away or disappeared into legend. Geologists have found evidence that some of these ancient riverbeds still contain underground water. The Sahara, for all its dryness, is hiding immense aquifers, ancient lakes sealed away beneath layers of rock and sand. They are like time capsules of the Green Sahara, preserving water that fell as rain 10,000 years ago. Some wells in Libya and Chad still draw from these aquifers today. When locals pull up buckets of cool water from the earth, they're touching the last breath of a vanished world. It's a haunting thought that the desert we see is only the surface, a mask. Beneath it lies a memory of a world filled with life, color, and sound. Beneath it might also lie the bones of villages, tools, and perhaps even temples of an unknown people. And if we could peel back the sand, layer by layer, what stories might we find? Many archaeologists now think the Sahara could be one of the last great frontiers of discovery on Earth. We've mapped the oceans, climbed the highest peaks, and looked beyond the stars. Yet we still haven't uncovered what lies just beneath our own feet. Every year, satellites detect new anomalies under the sand. Shapes that look like ancient walls, circular structures that resemble observatories, and strange geometric patterns that seem intentional. But until someone digs deep enough, these secrets will remain hidden. Maybe that's what the desert wants, to keep its secrets until we're ready to understand them. Maybe it knows that some knowledge must be earned slowly, not taken by force. The Sahara has been a witness to all of human history, from the first spark of civilization to our modern world. It has watched us rise, fall, and rise again. And through it all, it keeps whispering, through the winds that sing across the dunes, through the sand that shifts like waves on an unseen ocean. So, as you drift in thought, picture yourself walking across the desert at dusk. The air cools, the sun fades, and the stars begin to appear, one by one. You stop and kneel, pressing your hand into the sand. You feel warmth on the surface, but deeper down, coolness. Down there, beneath your fingers, flow the buried rivers of time. The desert remembers them. And maybe, somewhere in its heart, they still flow, not with water, but with memory. In the heart of Mauritania, deep within the endless sands of the Sahara, lies a colossal spiral, a perfect circle that seems carved by the hand of something greater than time itself. From above, it looks almost otherworldly. The formation stretches nearly 50 kilometers across, its concentric rings glowing in shades of bronze, ochre, and violet under the desert sun. It's called the Rikat structure, though most people know it by another name, the Eye of the Sahara. If you were to fly over it, you might think you're staring into the Earth's own pupil, an ancient eye watching over the desert, silent and unblinking. For centuries, travelers and scientists alike have wondered, what is this place? How did it form? And could it hold the key to one of humanity's oldest mysteries? At first glance, the eye appears to be a natural formation. Geologists tell us it's a deeply eroded dome of rock, created by the slow uplift and weathering of Earth's crust over millions of years. Layers of quartzite and limestone, exposed in perfect circles, show the passage of geological time like the rings of a tree. Yet, for all the scientific explanations, the eye continues to draw a strange fascination, as if its beauty and symmetry defy randomness. Some people believe it is more than a geological accident. They see it as a monument, a remnant of something vast and ancient, perhaps even man-made. In recent decades, the Eye of the Sahara has become the focus of one of the most compelling and controversial theories in archaeology, the idea that it could be the true location of Atlantis, the legendary lost city described by Plato over 2,000 years ago. According to Plato's dialogues, Atlantis was a circular city made of alternating rings of land and water, perfectly geometric, rich in resources, and home to an advanced civilization that eventually vanished beneath the sea. For centuries, scholars have dismissed the story as myth or allegory. But when satellite images of the Rikat structure were first widely circulated in the 1960s, researchers and enthusiasts couldn't ignore the resemblance. A massive circular structure, in the very region where an ancient lush world once existed. It's not just the shape that raises questions. The Rikat structure is roughly the same size as the city described by Plato, about 23 kilometers in diameter for the inner rings. Even the surrounding geography matches some of the clues. Mountains to the north, open plains to the south, and access to what might once have been rivers or even coastal waters thousands of years ago. Some argue that the ancient Tamanrasset River, now buried under the desert, could have once flowed nearby, linking this region to the Atlantic. If we imagine a world before the desert, when the Sahara was green and alive, the eye could have been a thriving hub, a natural basin turned into a settlement by early humans or a now-forgotten civilization. The circular pattern may have guided the building of dwellings, temples, and walls. When the climate changed and the rivers dried, the city would have fallen. Wind and time would have done the rest, burying its remains beneath layers of sand and salt. Of course, most scientists reject the Atlantis theory as speculation. They see the eye as a beautiful coincidence, nature's art carved by erosion and uplift. But even they admit that the surrounding region holds tantalizing archaeological traces. Stone tools, ancient artifacts, and marine fossils have been found scattered across the nearby plains, suggesting that human life, and even oceans, once flourished here. There's something poetic about that balance between science and mystery. On one side, geology speaks of deep time, rock strata, pressure, and erosion. On the other, myth whispers of gods, heroes, and lost worlds. Perhaps both are true in their own way. Perhaps the Eye of the Sahara is a place where Earth's memory and human imagination overlap, where myth becomes history and history becomes dust. Imagine standing at the edge of the eye, looking down into its spirals. The wind whirls softly, carrying fine grains of sand that glint like gold. The air hums with quiet energy, ancient, patient. You feel small, but also connected to something vast. This land has seen the birth of oceans, the rise and fall of climates, and the long journey of humanity itself. The stones beneath your feet have been here for hundreds of millions of years, yet they might also mark the resting place of a civilization that rose and fell long before Egypt, long before Sumer, long before history began. Some explorers who visited the site describe a strange sensation, a deep sense of presence, as though the desert is watching. Perhaps it's the silence, so complete that you can hear your own heartbeat echo against the wind. Or perhaps it's the realization that this circular mark on the Earth's surface isn't random at all, that it's a message, written in stone, from an age when humans and nature spoke the same language. Even if the eye is purely geological, its symbolism runs deep. Circles have always represented unity, eternity, the cycle of life. They appear in ancient art, in sacred architecture, in celestial movements. To find such a perfect circle here, at the heart of the world's largest desert, feels almost deliberate, as if the Earth itself shaped a monument to remind us of the past we've forgotten. And maybe that's why so many are drawn to it, scientists, dreamers, wanderers, and storytellers alike. The Eye of the Sahara seems to whisper, look closer. The answers are here. Whether it's the cradle of an ancient civilization, a natural wonder, or both, it tells us something profound, that the line between myth and truth is not as sharp as we think. The past doesn't vanish. It hides, waiting for the right eyes to see it again. As night falls over the desert, the eye disappears into darkness. Only the stars remain, circling overhead, countless, eternal, like reflections of the same spiral carved below. Perhaps the stars and the sand share a secret, that all creation moves in circles, rising, falling, and rising again. Civilizations bloom, fade, and return. Rivers dry, but their paths remain. And the earth, patient and ancient, keeps watching through its great eye, the silent